Hey folks, I'm Bex, this is the Tiny Fibre Studio, and today I'm making a quick video I could have sworn I'd made over a year ago. Turns out that wasn't the case, so I'm trying to make up for it now. Back in May of 2021, I was in desperate need of a palette cleanser project. I'd just reached the point in my shifty sweater where I'd realised that I was going to have to rip back and re-knit the shoulders. So that got flung into the naughty corner for a while, and I wanted to start something new that would be relatively quick, but also a significant enough project to give me a little bit of a confidence boost before diving back into the shifty. In my handspun stash, I came across this almost 1,000-yard skein that I'd finished towards the end of 2020. The fibre was an old John Arbon Mill special called Widow Twanky, which I'd picked up when Grace from Babel's Travelling Yarns and I went and did a mill tour there back in 2018. I have a video of that tour if you're interested, which I'll link in the description and the pinned comment below this video, along with anything else that's relevant for this video as well. The fibre content was 45% merino, same of Corriedale, and 10% Zwartbles, mostly in a sort of burgundy tone, but with some brown, purple and orange in the mix as well. I spun it on the Hanson Crafts mini spinner, drafting it short forward draw and two-plying it into a fairly hefty skein of 213 grams, about 997 yards of heavy fingering weight to sport weight. I didn't have a specific project in mind until I hit my little roadblock in my shifty and went stash diving. My original plan was to make a simple cropped raglan sweater with it, but then I found something else in my commercial yarn stash which went perfectly with it. It was an unbranded bright raspberry pink mohair silk. I did a little swatch with one strand of the mohair silk and one strand of the handspun held double, just to see how the two yarns would play together. And I really liked the effect. I'd been a little bit worried about losing those subtle colour changes in the handspun, but you're still able to see those occasional little pops of orange or purple or brown showing up. So it really doesn't look too flat. I'd love to hear your pattern recommendations for something that involves mohair silk and fingering weight wool held double. I found this one to be a really interesting process and a really nice way to use some handspun, so any other recommendations, very much welcome. When I was looking for this pattern, I considered a few other options, including Joji Locatelli's Elton cardigan, the Ranunculus by Midori Hirose, and Andrea Mowry's Pink Fizz. And after browsing through other projects which also use mohair silk, I landed on the Love Note by Tin Can Knits. This is a super popular pattern and it had a similar shape to another sweater that I'd tried on and liked recently. It's knitted in either a strand of lace and a strand of fingering weight held double, or a single strand of a DK weight. So there are other options if you don't want to use mohair, because I know that's not everybody's thing. It's a top-down lace yoke design knitted in the round with 3/4 length sleeves and a very slight high-low hem. The Love Note comes in 14 sizes from 0 to 6 months with a 24.5 inch to an adult 72.5 inch. It also has options for the lengths being either cropped or regular, and it would be very, very easy to modify and adapt to your personal preferences. Tin Can Knits recommend 4 to 12 inches of positive ease, in other words making it 4 to 12 inches bigger than your actual chest size. I made the size small, 41.5 inch chest with a regular length body. That would take about 650 yards of each yarn, and that's one thing to keep in mind here. If you're using 2 yarns held double, the yarn requirement is X amount of each yarn, not X amount in total. The gauge is 16 stitches and 24 rounds to 4 inches, and I got gauge on the suggested 6mm needles, which is a US size 10. On 6mm needles, the massive upside is that it's going to knit up very quickly. You also need a smaller needle for the ribbing, which should be about 3 sizes smaller. So I used a 4.5mm, which is a US size 7. I was using my higher steel sharp interchangeable sets, although I probably would have preferred to work on something a tiny little bit less slippery, like Chow Goose. But because 6mm just isn't a size that I use very often, I don't have that size in any stickier needles. Although I like the Love Notes leafy lace pattern, I wanted something a little bit more geometric. So I went hunting for other stitch patterns to use instead and came across the triple chevron pattern in Barbara Walker's First Treasury, which fitted perfectly into the Love Note pattern. Because there are no increases in that section, it would be easy to substitute any other pattern you liked in there, or just not do any lace at all. So I started with a crocheted provisional cast on using the needle and hook method, and I think this is where past Becks had better take up the story. So I've made a lot of progress since roughly this time yesterday. So there's my cast on edge, provisional cast on, done all of the lace, and now I'm into just the stocking stitch. Fantastic. Except there is a problem in this bit of lace. Can you spot it? Yeah, I couldn't either until I noticed this. What is this? Where has this come from? I don't know. And I can't let it go. It's too short to be just cut and woven in. I'm gonna need to do something about this, and it might be kind of drastic.
Caution: the following footage contains scenes some viewers may find disturbing. If the sight of extreme sweater surgery upsets you, please look away now. You have been warned.
So yeah, that happened. Just to be really clear, yes, it would have been quicker to just rip back and do the whole lace panel again, but I like to give myself a bit of a challenge now and again, all right? With the mohair, it is a little bit harder to read the lace stitches when you're trying to fix things, so I would definitely recommend taking things carefully in that section and using stitch markers between your lace repeats if necessary. There is one round of the original lace pattern where you need to move the stitch markers, but I think the benefit outweighs the hassle. Anyway, after that little bit of drama, the rest of the sweater knit up really quickly, as anticipated, with those big needles. By the way, if you're finding this video helpful, please do hit the like button, subscribe for more of this content, and share it with other people who might find it useful. If you'd like to support the channel financially, the links are in the description and the pinned comment below this video. Thank you so much to everyone who's supported me so far, because it genuinely helps me to continue making videos like this. Let's get back to the love note. After the lace, you add a few raglan increases and then separate for the sleeves. The rest of the body is just a nice mindless knit with no shaping until you get to the very bottom, where you just do a few short rows on the back to bring the back hem just a little bit lower down than the front, and then you work the ribbing. At this point, the pattern has you knit the sleeves, but I chose to do the neckline first so that I could try it on as I knit the sleeves, and it would give me an accurate impression of how long the sleeves were going to end up being. For the neckline, you pick up your stitches from your provisional cast on, knit a decrease round or two, and then you're into the ribbing at the neck. This gives you the chance to adjust the neckline fit to your personal preference. I would recommend running a little piece of scrap yarn or thread, I use bookbinding thread, through your stitches before you do your decreases, and then that way if you need to reknit it, you've got a lifeline in there. You can also just make the neck bind off a little bit tighter if necessary. And incidentally, if lace, provisional cast-ons or short rows are things that you're not confident with, Tin Can Knits have a great series of blog posts that talk you through step by step how to make the Love Note sweater. So it's a great project to learn new things on. I decided to do full length sleeves since A, I had plenty of yarn, and B, as much as I like 3/4 length sleeves, I just always end up with really cold wrists. I also chose to do an I-cord bind off for the sleeves rather than the suggested rib. There's already a decrease round in the pattern, which creates a very slight balloon sleeve, but I added another round where I just knit 2 together all the way around, and by doing that and adding an I-cord rather than ribbing there, it just emphasises that balloon sleeve effect. I also added another lifeline through the last row before the bind off, just in case I needed to reknit any of it to adjust the fit after blocking. This was a really nice quick knit, a perfect palette cleanser project, and I get a lot of wear out of it. It's a great choice to take with me on summer days when I might need to add layers in case I'm out after sunset, walking around in a sea breeze, or indoors with air conditioning. It's really light and it squishes up fairly small in my bag, so it's easy to take around with me. My lace pattern substitution worked pretty well. I was aware that when you have a large lace motif like this with big sections of knit stitches between the lace, you can get a sort of mound in the middle, which you can see on some of the photos I took before the blocking. But blocking mostly fixed that, and these rows also sit across the widest point of my shoulders, so usually it lies quite flat. I think this is a great option for a handspun project, with or without the mohair. In this case, it's the main yarn that has colour variations while the mohair silk is solid, but it would also be a great way of using hand-dyed mohair silk against a solid main yarn, or you've got the option of using a single strand of DK instead. The pattern uses a relatively small amount of yarn, knits up quickly, and it's a really nice garment for spring through to autumn, sort of transitional seasons, so I can definitely see myself making another one. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments, feedback and suggestions down below, and I will see you again soon.